Hello, this is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I'm here live to take your U.S. immigration related questions. Put your questions in the comments now so that I can answer your questions. Now, I'm just going to focus on your questions today. So start putting those questions in the comments if you'd like me to get to your questions. We only have a short session today, so it's going to be about 15 minutes. So go ahead. I'm looking out for your questions now. N400 was approved first, then denied. As I just got a felony before oath, can I still appeal? So yes, you can always apply. It asks for reconsideration. You have a deadline to do that, usually 30 days. So make sure that you do that ASAP if you want them to reconsider it, especially if maybe you got a charge, but it got dismissed and you want to then show the evidence that it's dismissed, so it shouldn't be held against you. Hi, how many years of tax returns are required as proof of to sponsor your spouse? So the most recent tax return is required, and you do have to show, well, you have to file your other tax returns, your most recent 3 tax returns, but they usually ask for the most recent tax return. So that's going to be the most important one. How long does it take to get a green card? It depends on what kind of green card you're applying for. It can range anywhere from a few months to years. My process, let's see. How long it take to get a travel document? So it can range anywhere from a few weeks if it's an emergency travel document up to even a year. So it just depends on facts here, whether you have an emergency or you're going the regular route. Do we still have to take the COVID vaccine and a medical? Yes. If you don't want the vaccine, you do have to show that you have strong moral convictions or religious requirements that prohibit you from getting the vaccine. Any vaccination, all vaccinations, not just the COVID. So you have to be opposed to all vaccinations. By 2025, will there be humanitarian parole for Nicaragua? So it's hard to predict that. I wouldn't be able to say that yet. Can my wife travel to Puerto Rico with her work permit? Not the work permit she needs. Well, now keep in mind, Puerto Rico is a part of the United States. So if she has the work permit, then and she's traveling to Puerto Rico, then that should be fine. She shouldn't need a travel document to travel to Puerto Rico. Keep in mind there are some risks associated with flying to Puerto Rico. That work permit, if she's going to use it as proof of identification, has to be valid and current. And another thing is, keep in mind it's off the US coast. So say the flight, God forbid, but say the flight has to divert to another country, then that's one of the risks that you have to think about. Say they have to land in Jamaica because of maybe an emergency, then she could potentially be stuck there if she doesn't have a travel document. So you have to just think about those risks. The risks aren't zero. So travel document is always best if you're going to fly off the coast, just to prepare for any kind of risk. Friend been waiting 6 years for her green card, so she's probably in a category where she has to wait that long. But there are categories where you wait for a shorter time, and usually when you're applying for adjustment of status here in the US, it's going to be much shorter than that. I've been here 16 years. Just married my daughter's father, who's a resident. What's the process? So if you've been here for that long and you do not have your immigration status, you have to wait for your children's father, which is now your spouse, to be a US citizen, because that's going to be the best way to adjust status. If you want to evaluate other options, though, you can always get in touch with us and we can help you with that. How long does it take to file for citizenship after you got your VAWA case approved? If it's through a US citizen based on mistreatment by a US citizen spouse, 3 years. Otherwise, 5 years. I came to the US on 19 September 2023, left back 13 March 2024. I was B1, B2. When can I travel back to the US? So I wouldn't be able to advise about that. No, what I can say is traveling back to the US too soon after leaving, especially after if you spent a long time here, can be a red flag to the officers. And I have seen people lose their visas that way. On asylum case, but I just married last month and I went to do my fingerprint already, but caught a small felony charge that should be dismissed. Would that affect my travel document? You need legal advice. Whenever it comes to criminal issues, you need to make sure you're properly advised. Now, if it's dismissed, it even depends whether it's going to be used against you or not. It's going to depend on how it was dismissed, because case law does dictate how they use that dismissal. For example, if you were going to court and the court required you to plead guilty before they would, dismiss the charge, under immigration law and case law, it's still considered a guilty, a conviction. So they would still use it against you. However, if you didn't have to plead guilty before the dismissal, then they would not use it against you. So you have to be very careful. Make sure you get proper legal advice about that. Can I do my medical examination in any hospital? No, I'm glad you asked that. No, you can't. You need to go to USCIS, or if you're outside of the country, make sure you look at the Department of State for their authorized physicians. You can only go to their authorized physicians. So please make sure you go and look for the authorized physicians and usually sometimes they'll send it the link in the RFE. My husband filed I-130 in March. How long does it take to get employment authorization? I-130 doesn't get you the EAD. It's going to be the I-485 filed with the I-130. Once it is filed properly, the work permit is filed properly with the adjustment of status application, then about 3 to 6 months. But if you file just the I-130 and the work permit, you're not gonna see that work permit come. How long is USCIS processing for parents of US citizens? About 9 to 12 months right now. How can a person get the SSN on an F1 visa? So usually you'll get the SSN if you're working. So if you're working as a student, you'd be issued the SSN, or you get a work authorization. Are the process going faster for I-130 recently for USC sponsoring spouse within the USA? So I-130 with I-485, yes, it can be potentially faster. About, it could be anywhere from 5 months to up to a year. Along with the I-485, by the way, unless you don't qualify for adjustment of status. Okay, so case says 1 week, then says taking longer than processing time. So that's just what the USCIS says, and we can't do anything about that. Just know that when the USCIS, they have this special app now that they're giving to applicants to say, hey, use this to track the time. We're going to tell you whether we're going to make a decision soon on your case. And then they say, oh, so sorry, 1 week. Yes, you had 1 week, but now it's taking longer than usual. It just shows you it's really unreliable. So I really don't go by that app. I go by my own experience and what I'm seeing trending among my colleagues. When I-130 for F2A LPR is approved and I-485 is pending, should I be concerned for red flags still? So that's not enough information for me to be able to tell you whether there's a red flag. How yes, because here's one thing though. I-130 can be approved, but it's not gonna, it is, just because the I-130 is approved does not mean the I-485 will be approved. You still have to qualify separately for adjustment of status, which is the I-485. How successful are J1 waivers after an overstay and marriage to born US? Depends on what kind of J1 waiver. Are you doing it through a no objection letter? Are you doing it through exceptional and extremely unusual hardships, or any other basis? So it's going to be dependent on your facts to determine how successful it's going to be, whether you meet the standard. Will a DWI affect me after getting a green card? It may affect you at the naturalization stage. Get legal advice and representation when you're ready to apply for citizenship. How can I, oh, wow, okay. When I-130 for F2A, so I answered that. How long is it take when a U.S. citizen daughter sponsor her mom? It's almost 2 years now. Yeah, so that's a bit long for the category. So if that's the case, you need to check in with the USCIS to find out if there's something they need. Will my application for permanent citizenship be disturbed if I've separated from the ex? If you are applying for citizenship within 3 years based on the ex, then yes. But if you have waited out the 5 years and you're applying based on that, then no. My brother came here from an invitation for a religious seminar, but when he got here, the church made him sell books instead. He came 2015. They applied for R1 for him, which was approved in 2018. But in between, he was made to buy books. Is this possible to apply for a T visa? Absolutely. Yes, that definitely sounds like a T visa scenario. I can't confirm until we talk in a consultation, of course, but if he came just for a seminar and they made him stay and work, that's going to be a huge red flag. How long does your firm take to process T visa application? So it really is on a case by case basis. T visas, I'm not running a McDonald's drive through. We do work fast, but at the same time, I'm an attorney. I need to make sure that we build the right case for our clients. So I take that very seriously. So I can never say, guaranteed we're going to get it out in 2 weeks, because getting out a T visa application in 2 weeks might be reckless. However, we do work as quickly as possible to get our clients' cases filed. But if you rush this application, and I've seen this happen with other people, you rush an application and you send it out just because you think the faster you get it out is the faster you're going to get to that benefit. Guess what happened? You face delays, you face denials, you face rejections because of mistakes, because of omissions, because of holes in the application that causes them for that consequence to happen. So very important to understand, why I can't give you a timeline on that. It depends on the client and what we have already. Attorney, can someone who had asylum pending ask for parole documents to go to a third country? It's possible. It's possible, but keep in mind that there are risks associated with this from a strategic point of view. If you can go to another country, who's to say that they're not going to bring this argument forth that maybe that's a country you could go to for safety as well. So you'd have to just be very careful about the risk associated with traveling on a pending application. All right, I really have 0 minutes left, but I'm gonna go through and see if I can answer one more questions. Thanks so much, child of God, Mackie. I appreciate that. Hope you are having a good day too. Is it a good idea to file the green card documents and then send evidence after? No, that's not a good idea. Unless I say this, if you don't meet the deadline, you're gonna miss out on your qualifications. You should not be rushing to file anything without evidence attached. But this is where it's important to get legal representation to understand. In cases where if you don't file tomorrow, you're going to miss that opportunity. I can see why you would file first and then supplement the application with additional evidence. But otherwise, why would you do that? That's going to lead to delays. That's going to lead to them calling you in for an interview when you could have been waived for an interview. One more. If my spouse is in the military, is it true that it takes a shorter time to get a green card? So that's not necessarily true, but what I do find is that the basis, the request to get the green card done in a shorter period of time may be approved because they're in the military. They may be deployed. There may be circumstances that warrants a faster application, but you do have to make those requests. All right. If you want to schedule some time with me, I highly recommend it. I go through a detailed process with you to determine whether you qualify for our help. Go to the link in the profile, go to the description, the link in the description of the video, schedule your own appointment, or go ahead and call the office and they'll be more than happy to help you to schedule. This weekend, we have a Mother's Day special. So all mothers out there, calling all mothers, I will be offering a discount. I believe it's a 33% discount on consultation. So look out for postings on that so that you can schedule and this is only if you schedule your own appointment. So please go ahead, schedule your own appointment. And then you'll get the discount. So we're going to post that up. It's starting on the 10th and ending on Monday. So happy Mother's Day in advance. And I'll definitely talk to you about it again tomorrow when it's really up and running and it's good to go. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Bye-bye.